The eXecute is the first nickel-plated, brass-bodied wrist strap release, complete with independently adjustable travel and tension settings that allow for ultra-light, ultra-crisp, to ultra-heavy trigger adjustability, which can be also locked to prevent unintended movement. Due to the preferred popularity of our handle release aids, solid brass material was selected to add weight in the hand, while the nickel-plated coating resists corrosion and wear through harsh conditions, so it can supply quality and consistency through the lifetime of the release. Hi, I'm Brandon Reyes with TR.U Release and Axcel sites, and I'm going to go over the new eXecute with you today. As you see here, this is our two new wrist strap model releases known as the eXecute. We have the tornado connection version on my right, and then we have the web strap version on my left. These are a cool new brass bodied release that we come out with that has a cool nickel plating on it that reduces corrosion and also extends the functionality of the release, and also allows the parts internally, which are all stainless steel hardened parts, to last longer and to be more accurate for you. First of all, I'll show you a few features of the tornado version, and then I'll also show you some of the web as well. Basically, the only difference is the strap to release connection. And then, to conclude the video, I'll show you the adjustment instructions that are very important as far as adjusting the sensitivity and travel on the eXecute release. So the tornado version here, you can see we're bringing back an old type of connection in our tornado releases from years ago. And we actually have a swivel at the body of the release here, and then you have the adjustments for the length close to the strap here. Now the cool part of this is you can take this tubular section of the release and move it in and out in 3/32 of an inch increments to fine-tune the setting for yourself and ensure that you have a solid connection from the strap to the release. I particularly myself like this version because when I do hook it up to my wrist strap, I like to pinch that tornado swivel part in between my middle finger and my thumb. It kind of gives me a little bit of a sense of security, and then that allows me to reach the trigger with my index finger. You'll also see that both triggers, this is a straight trigger, and then on the web strap we have more of a relaxed trigger. Both of those triggers come standard with your eXecute release, no matter if it's the web strap version or the tornado strap version. So that's the tornado. The web, you can see, is adjustable within the connection here that attaches to the leather buckle strap. This allows you infinite settings to adjust that length specifically to your feel. It allows you to get the release real short, or if you have a long reach and long fingers, allows you to lengthen that out, to get that desired trigger length for your finger or your setup. All of our eXecutes are available in a buckle or a Velcro strap in numerous different sizes, to fit the diameter of your wrist. To show you a little bit more in depth the adjustments on the releases, first, I'll go through and point out the locations and what each set screw does, and then I'll show you specifically how to adjust your eXecute release. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our adjustment settings. You'll notice on the back side here we have a large set screw. This is your sensitivity adjustment. You'll notice that there's a little spot that is protruded from the top of the release. That contains a lock screw for the sensitivity. So once you get your desired setting, you can lock that screw down at 90-degree angle, intersects with the sensitivity screw to allow it to not move once your choice of settings is chosen. On the front of the release, you'll notice a small 50 thousandths set screw in the top here, and this is your travel adjustment setting. It also has a lock screw that intersects it at 90 degrees. Once you get your desired setting on your travel, you can lock that down and not have your travel adjustment move. So, important instructions as far as setting your release up. I will mention right now that we also have a light spring that is installed in all of these eXecute releases as they're shipped from the factory. Currently we do not have a heavy spring that is shipped with the releases, but we have an option for a heavy spring should you desire that. And I will go through that. I have the spring here, and I'll show you the differences of setting those up with the conventional standard spring that comes with it, as well as the heavy spring that you can get as an option. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set the travel. And the way we do this is we're going to take the sensitivity screw on the back, and there's no need to loosen the lock screw, but we need to turn the sensitivity screw to where it bottoms out. And it'll stop, and you don't have to worry about your screw going in or your spring going in, but turn this set screw in as far as it'll go. And then what you're going to do is remove that 5/64 Allen wrench, cock the release, and then find your sensitivity, or your travel screw rather, on the top here. So once we do that, we're going to turn clockwise until our release pops. And if you try to cock it, it will not cock, which is good. So now we're going to back our travel setting off 1/4 of a turn. Make sure our lock screw is nice and snug. And now we're ready to start going back to the sensitivity screw and backing this out. So what I'm trying to attain here is the lightest possible setting that's safe, that's not going to create a misfire. So now I'm going to start backing this out now that my travel is set, cocking the release as I go. And what I want to find is the location where the release will not cock. So what I'm trying to show you is that there has to constantly be spring pressure on the trigger inside to make it work. Notice I'm just firing the release as I slowly turn the screw back. Okay, now I found a spot where my release will not cock. So what I'm going to do is to make sure I've got a safe setting, I'm going to turn my screw in about 1/2 of a turn, and then make sure my lock screw is down tight. And this is going to be the lightest possible setting that I would want to shoot this at, safely, because I've got spring pressure underneath my sensitivity screw, and I got my travel backed out about 1/4 of a turn. So that's how I find the location of where I want to set my eXecute should I want to use a light setting. And now you can turn your screw clockwise as much as you wish, to fine tune, if you want to go another 1/2 a turn, to fine tune that feeling. If you don't want a super light trigger, you can keep going until you get that desired feel on the pressure that you want your release to fire at. So remember that you have to constantly have spring pressure on the sensitivity adjustment when you're adjusting your release. So now I'm going to do the same thing, but I've got a red heavy spring. And like I mentioned, this does not come standard with the release aids. Should you want to add a heavy spring to get a heavier feel, you're going to have to replace the standard spring that comes with it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the spring. And like I mentioned, this is for those archers that desire a heavy feel. I'm going to remove the sensitivity set screw, and then I'm going to drop the spring out. It is a threaded hole, so you may have to use an Allen wrench to kind of pull the spring out. But you'll see that the standard spring is there now, and I'm going to install the heavier coiled, stronger coiled red spring in there now. And I'm going to repeat the instructions that I just provided with the standard spring. So now We're going to turn our release all the way, or I'm sorry, our set screw all the way down for the sensitivity. You may have to back it about a quarter because it's a super strong spring. Just make sure that the release cocks. Okay, and then now again we're going to go to the top, cock our release, turn the travel adjustment screw in until it pops, back it off a quarter so it's on the safe side, and then again go back to the set screw and start backing it out until it does not fire. Okay, I'm at the position now where it will not cock. It's right on the edge. There we go. So now, if I back this off 1/2 turn, I should be getting into my safe sides of my heavy spring. So now, when I feel the trigger, I should be able to actually feel more of the trigger before the release actually pops. So now you can start there and increase the amount of pressure by adding more turns clockwise to the sensitivity adjustment to get those heavier feels with that red spring. So with that, now I've instructed you the safe adjustment settings for both the standard spring as you see here, and then the red heavier spring that is an accessory that's not included with your release aids. Should you need it, you would need to contact the factory here to obtain those heavier settings with your eXecute. So now we're going to cut to actually me showing you how the release hooks up and shooting some actual sample shots with it to show you the different adjustments that you can obtain with the wrist straps by moving it in and out, and also just showing you the way to hook it up to your D-loop if you use a D-loop. And so on and so forth. That's the new eXecute. Be sure to check it out at our website. This is a very hot product that just come out. We sold out as soon as we got the first shipment in. We're patiently awaiting the next shipment now. Check them out at our website at www.truball.com for more information.